Last thing that the Lord uses Jeremiah to tell them. See, the first part was your relationship with yourself. What is it that you can do for yourself? The second part was your relationship with other people. Seeking help and advice from people who are not going to tell you the truth, but just going to help you to give seducing, oh my God, to submitting yourself to itching ears. So the first part is your relationship with yourself. Second part is your relationship with other people. Third part has to do with your relationship with God. This is where verse 11 comes in. He said, I know the thoughts that I think towards you, saith God. Thoughts of peace and not of evil. God, hey. To bring you to an expected end. New International Version reads it like this: for I know the plans I have for you, declares the Lord. Plans to prosper you and not to harm you. Plans to give you hope and a future. Message Bible translation reads it like this. He said, I like this translation. He says, I know what I'm doing. I have it all planned out. Plans to take care of you and not to abandon you. Plans to give you the future you hope for. This is an indication of how God feels about us. God, I feel you right there. It shows here in this verse that he really wants the best for us. Matter of fact, this verse tells me not only does he want me to do great things, but he expects me to do great things with my life. As a matter of fact, he says it. First of all, he tells us he knows what he's doing. He said he has it all planned out, which means that God takes the time to carefully calculate every direction your life has ever gone. Psalms 37:23 says the steps of a good man are ordered by the Lord, and he delighteth in his way. This suggests to us that we mean so much to God that he plans every move that we ever make. And at the end of this verse, the writer goes on to say, he delighteth, which means the man will be delighted in his way, meaning in God's way. This further suggests that God's plans are so calculated that he expects that by the time I get to every end of every chapter in my life, I will have something to be delighted about. In other words, we mean so much to God that he sits up and thinks of every facet of our lives. Can you imagine that out of all the things that God in his infinite wisdom could be thinking about, he actually spends his time thinking about you? Out of all the stuff that God could have on his agenda, at the top of his list is you. God, Lord, help me here. I mean, he uses up the majority of his time thinking about you. He thinks about you so much until it baffles the angels in heaven, until they have to ask the question in Hebrews 2:6, what is man that thou art mindful of him? This is why God says in our text in Jeremiah that he has thoughts of peace and not of evil, to give you an expected end. Lord, can I get out of here? Tell your neighbor, say, neighbor, God expects me to make it. Yeah, this lets me know that whenever I come across God's mind, he doesn't think negatively of me. He's not like other people in your life. See, people see what you used to be, but God sees what you're going to be. People see where I came from, but God sees where I'm going. People see what they want me to have, but God sees what he already has. Preacher says, I'm doing the best I can. People don't want me to succeed, but God expects me. No matter what they do or say, God expects me to succeed. People look at you and say they think they already have, but God looks at you and says, man, I broke the mold when I made it. That's how you have to learn. You got to learn how to look at yourself, how God sees you. You have to get in your mind that whenever you come across God's thought process, that it's in the effect that he's waiting on you to do and become what he has already planned for you to do and become. Matter of fact, you should tell your neighbor right about expects me that I'm going to get over my loneliness. God expects me that I'm going to get over my self-esteem. They still ain't getting it. Let me take it up a little bit higher. God expects me to stand in the liberty wherewith He has set me free and be not again entangled with the yoke of bondage. He expects me to trust Him with all my heart and lean not to my own understanding, but in all my ways acknowledge Him, and He will direct my path. I gotta take it one more time, a little bit higher. God expects me to be the lender and not the borrower. I'm expected to be somebody. I'm expected to never see the righteous forsaken, nor a seed begging bread. God expects me to come out of this. Shout the edge! Shout the edge! God bless y'all. It's been real. And I really tried to get through